Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Natiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 16, Text number 22. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar. Okay. Word for word. Kim Kshetra Bandhun Kalina Upashishtan Rashtrani Va Taihi Avaropitani Itaha Tataha Va Ashana Pana Vasaha Snana Vyavaya Unmukha Jivalokam Kim Kshatabandhun Kalinopasrishtan Rashtrani Vater Avaropitani Itastato Vashanapanavasa Snana Vyavyayon Mukha Jivalokam Kim Kshatabandhun Kalinopasrishtan Rashtrani Vater Avaropitani Itastato Vashanapanavasa Snana Vyavayon Mukha Jivalokam Kim Kshatrabandhun Kalinopasprishtan Rashtrani Vateravaropitani Itastato Vashanapanavasa Snana Vyavayon Mukha Jiva Lokam
King Chaturabandhun Kalinopasrishtan
Pasishtam
Rashtrani Vataravaropitani
Pitani
Itastato Vashanapanavasaha Snana Vyavayon Mukha Jiva Lokam
Jiva Lokam
King Kshatrabandhun Kalinopasrishtan
Kshatrabandhun Kalinopasrishtan
Rashtrani Vatai Avaropitani
Rashtrani Vavaravaropitani
Itastato Vashanapanavasa
Itastato Vashanapanavasa
Snana Vyavayon Mukhajiva Lokam
Snana Vayayon Mukha Jiva Lokam
King Shatrabandhun Kalinopasrishtan
King Shatrabandhun Kalinopasrishtan
Rashtrani Vatar Avaropitani
Rashtrani Vater Avaropitani
Itastato Vashanapanavasa
Itastato Vashanapanavasa
Snana Vyavan Yon Mukha Jiva Lokam
Snana Vivayon Mukha Jiva Lokam
Kim Shatrabandhun Kalinopasrishtan
King Shatrabandhun Banino Pushpishtan
Rashtrani Vataravaropitani
Rashtrani Vateravaropitani
Itastato Vashanapanavasa
Itastato Vashanapanavasa
Snana Vyavayon Mukha Jiva Lokam
Snana Vyavayon Mukha Jiva Lokam
Kim Shatrabandhum Kalinopasrishtan
Kshatrabandhun Kalinos Pasrishtan
Rashtrani Vataravaropitani
Varopitani
Itastato Vashanapanavasa
Itastato Vashanapanavasa
Snana Vyavayon Mukha Jiva Lokam
Snana Vivayon Mukha Jiva Lokam I think there's a chanter online that wants to chant.
Kim Shatrabandhun Kalinopasrishtan
Shatrabandhun Kalinopasrishtan
Rashtrani Vatir Aviropitani
Varopitani
Itastato Vashanapanavasaha
Stato Vashanapanavasa
Nana Vavayon Mukha Jiva Lokam
Ana Vivayon Mukha Jiva Lokam
Kim Chatrabandhun Kalipopasrashtan
Kalino Pasprishtan
Rashtrani Vater Avapatani
Avaropitani
Itastato Vashanapanavashaha
Itatatun Vashanapanavasa
Sana Vayavayo Mukha Jiva Lokam
Ana Vivayon Mukha Jiva Lokam. Okay, word for word. Kim, weather. Kshatrabandhun, the unworthy administrators. Kalina, by the influence of the age of Kali. Apasprushtan, bewildered. Rashtrani, state affairs. Va, or Tahi, by them. Avaropitani, put into disorder. Itaha, here. Tataha, there. Va, or Ashana, accepting foodstuff. Pana, drink. Vasaha, residence. Snana, bath. Vyavaya, sexual intercourse. Unmukha, inclined. Jiva lokam, human society. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The so-called administrators are now bewildered by the influence of this age of Kali, and thus they have put all state affairs into disorder. Are you now lamenting this disorder? Now the general populace does not follow the rules and regulations for eating, sleeping, drinking, mating, etc. And they are inclined to perform such anywhere and everywhere. Are you unhappy because of this? Purport. There are some necessities of life on a par with those of the lower animals, and they are eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. These bodily demands are for both the human beings and the animals. But the human being has to fulfill such desires, not like animals, but like a human being. A dog can mate with a dog can mate with a female dog before the public eyes without hesitation. But if a human being does so, the act will be considered a public nuisance, and the person will be criminally prosecuted. Therefore, for the human being, there are some rules and regulations, even for fulfilling common demands. The human society avoids such rules and regulations when it is bewildered by the influence of the age of Kali. In this age, people are indulging in such necessities of life without following the rules and regulations, and this deterioration of social and moral rules is certainly lamentable because of the harmful effects of such beastly behavior. In this age, the fathers and the guardians are not happy with the behavior of their wards. They should know that so many innocent children are victims of bad association awarded by the influence of this age of Kali. We know from Srimad Bhagavatam that a Jamil, an innocent son of a Brahmana, was walking down a road and saw a Shudra pair sexually embracing. This attracted the boy, and later on the boy became a victim of all debaucheries. From a pure Brahmana, he fell down to the position of a wretched urchin, and it was all due to bad association. There was but one victim like a Jamil in those days, but in this age of Kali, the poor, innocent students are daily victims of cinemas which attract men only for sex indulgence. The so-called administrators are all untrained in the affairs of a Kshatriya. The Kshatriyas are meant for administration, as the Brahmanas are meant for knowledge and guidance. The word Kshatriya Bandhu refers to the so-called administrators, or persons promoted to the post of the administrator without proper training by culture and tradition. Kshatriya Bandhu. Nowadays, they are promoted to such exalted posts by the votes of the people who are themselves fallen in the rules and regulations of life. How can such people select a proper man when they are themselves fallen in the standard of life? Therefore, by the influence of the age of Kali, everywhere, politically, socially, or religiously, everything is topsy-turvy, and therefore, for the sane man, it is all regrettable. Om Gyanatamarandasya Gina Jana Shurakaya Chakshurumlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So-called administrators are now bewildered by the influence of this age of Kali, and they have put all state affairs into disorder. Are you now lamenting this disorder? Now the general populace does not follow the rules and regulations for eating, sleeping, drinking, mating, etc., and they are inclined to perform such anywhere and everywhere. Are you unhappy because of this? So this is basically continuing on the theme of the last class I gave, which was Thursday morning, about the degradation of this age of Kali. And this particularly focuses on the Kshatriyas, the administrators, because, as was quoted last class, that yad yad acharati shrestas tatat eve jarotanaha janaha sat pramanam kruvate logas tada nivartate, that the common people, they follow the leader, and whatever actions he performs, they follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So these leaders, administrators, their qualities and behaviors, the common people will naturally follow and become inspired to do those things. So we see what kind of people are popular these days, right? Celebrities, and more or less all the celebrities are involved in much sinful activity. So then naturally people become interested in those things. I remember a role model I had growing up was a rapper. And, what did he rap about? He rapped about gangsta violence, women, just illicit connections with women, intoxication, and, violence, basically just promoting these 4 animalistic propensities. So I became interested in all those. And maybe I didn't do them, but so explicitly like he was speaking about, but it had an influence on my consciousness. And I became more attracted to those lower modes of nature, passion, ignorance. So these are, and there's a rap artist in town. He had a concert the other night. It was Thursday night. And his name was Kevin Gates. And he has billions of views on his videos on YouTube. And I looked at some of his song titles to see what kind of music it is, because you can tell what kind of people go to these things by the music. And so generally we look for people artists that talk about, good vibes, or, have some sort of conscious message. So then people are more favorable. But it was just like profanity, like every title had something profane in it. And I was like, oh, well, I don't know about this crowd. So they're associating with such a person who's speaking about, rapping about these things, these profane things, and naturally the people become conditioned to enjoy the same things. They become inspired to do those things, which more or less are promoting the animal propensities of life: sleeping, eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. And the 4 pillars of sinful life are being totally promoted in this age of Kali. So as those in human bodies, doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually human beings, but they might be just a walking animal, 2-legged animal. because of their consciousness is just interested in eating, sleeping, mating, defending. You could say that human beings can become even lower than animals because animals have certain natural regulations as they are in accordance with nature. But the human being can defy their, their rhythm with nature, you could say, or their natural laws. The human beings have the intelligence and ability, free will to go against the laws of nature, but they suffer. So you could see these animal propensities. If you do too much of them, then you suffer. If you eat too much, people suffer. They become obese. They have so much disease that acquires they become, their bodies can't handle so much food in old age. Or if they eat too less, then they become diseased, become depressed. So much difficulties arise. Sleeping, one sleeps too much, they'll always be sleepy, and all of their activities will become influenced by the mode of ignorance. Or if they hardly sleep at all because they're so passionately trying to make money or whatever, then they become disturbed by that. And they fear too much, trying to defend themselves, and so much violence occurs, killing other people like this. And if they don't fear enough, if they don't protect themselves enough, then thieves and rogues come and take their belongings away. And if they mate too much, then you have so many sexually transmitted diseases. Nowadays, Prabhupada quotes about how they make experiments to inject in the men monkey hormones from the monkeys, and so therefore one can actually enjoy sex life more. So there's so many disorders that occur from having too much sex, like what to mention about what the scriptures talk about, how you lose your intelligence and you physically become weak. So many things. So by promoting these sinful activities, everybody becomes so animalistic. And we see that Prabhupada says here that a dog can mate in the public eyes without hesitation, but a human being does so, the act will be considered a public nuisance, and one will be personally criminally persecuted. So this is the natural state that, the human being has restrictions, whereas a dog can do, or animals. But we see that people are even becoming more like the dog and doing these things in public too. And it's just becoming more and more degraded. And eventually, it'll be a normal thing. Something that, people will champion in the political sphere. Hey, you can't take away our freedom of expression. We should be able to do this in public. So this, how it's going to be degraded, like anything, everything. We see these things are gradually taking place. It's like the highest value is allowing people to be happy and do what they want, as long as they don't, hurt other people. They should be able to be protected in the political sphere. They should be able to express themselves freely like that. And so many different laws are being acted, like abortion laws. One should have the right to decide for themselves. They can, if they should kill or not their newborn child or their embryo. But the government is supposed to be there. In Vedic society, the government is there to regulate the citizens' activities so that they don't perform so many sinful atrocities and destroy the peace in human society. Disturbance comes when so many citizens are performing sinful activities. Then you have all this group karma. Everybody becomes implicated. And nowadays it's Ugar karma. So basically, whatever material activity you do, you're so much implicated in so many sinful activities, so many sinful reactions. What to speak about something like serving meat, right, in restaurants. You know, there's a few, I don't remember exactly the number, but the person who, you know, kills the animal, the person that transports the meat, the person that packages the meat, the person that, you know, every person who serves, it's like every step of the way you're implicated in some sinful reaction. So it might seem, you know, it seems innocent, like let me just go to the store and buy this package of meat and go eat it. Or let me just buy this, you know, this yogurt, or buy this cheese. But within the cheese, you have these enzymes, this rennet that comes from a cow's stomach, you know, and you have different animal products within, and then you have, yeah, so everything is so implicated in sinful reactions and in a very gross way. And we know that just anything material has some karmic package to it, you know, some karmic package mixed with certain modes of nature. And if you take it or if you use it for sense enjoyment, then you have to become conditioned by those modes of nature, and you have to suffer and enjoy the results of that activity, that sense enjoyment. So the Kshatriyas, they're supposed to cut down, they're supposed to uphold the laws of religion under the guidance of the Brahmanas, who give them knowledge, give them guidance how to uphold religious principles. And then the Kshatriyas are meant to carry out and protect the citizens and give consequence to wrongdoers that are acting against the laws of God, the laws of Krishna. You know, just one person or a few people performing sinful activities in society can have such a big impact on the whole, and it's very unfortunate. So the Kshatriya is supposed to be there to punish such a person, and then everybody else will get into that activity. So I quoted this Ajamil pastime last class. Prabhupada quotes it here as well. And so, you know, it's a very nice story to reflect on, that someone who's born so innocently can become so bewildered by sinful desire and do so many abominable things to achieve that desire and prolong that enjoyment. There was a particular point here that the word, what is it? The word Kshatriya Bandhu refers to the so-called administrators or persons promoted to the post of the administrator without proper training by culture and tradition. So we have to be trained in the proper culture, this Vedic culture, spiritual culture and tradition. And when one is trained properly by the devotees of the Lord, then one will know what is right and wrong, what to stay away from, what to, how to act in this world, and one will be happy. And Prabhupada speaks about how the citizens are blind, but they're given some influence to vote for leaders. But if they themselves are blind, then how can they vote for somebody who is actually qualified really qualified to lead in the true sense of the term qualified, which is to act in accordance with Krishna's system of the parampara, being the knowledge of parampara, the science of spiritual life being actually imparted to the citizens through the government administrators. So if we ourselves are blind, then we won't know properly who is able to rule nicely. And therefore, this system of democracy, Prabhupada also coined the term demon crazy, is coined in this way. Whereas if you have a class of brahmanas who are pure and they command respect by their qualities, and then you have a kshatriya who can actually who can act in accordance with their advice and rule, then people will become qualified by they'll attain good qualities by that administration of proper understanding of how to utilize our human form of life, which is to perform sacrifice, perform our duties in this world for the sake of spiritual advancement for Krishna. So everything is topsy-turvy in the age of Kali. So we have to have that vision when we see issues of this world, or we see trends in this modern society. We have to just assume that everything is topsy-turvy, because it is. And there's no basis, there's no real basis of like real stable foundation of morality, of values, because God is practically completely out of the picture. Krishna's instructions are out of the picture. So naturally, everything is going to be corrupt, topsy-turvy. Everybody is thinking they're the body, so how can they give true knowledge, and how could they create laws that are actually for the welfare of all and actually beneficial? I was speaking with a devotee in Gita Nagari. He's a scientist. He's getting his PhD in physics, and he's somewhat involved in scientific preaching. And I was making this point that he was speaking about how there's this phenomenon of, what's it called? It's kind of like censorship, but it's like certain information may come in, some research findings, but if it goes against their present, like, popular idea of let's say how old human society is, then they'll reject it. And he was saying that more or less in the higher circles, it's just, they're just partying, they're just in it for money. Like this. So he was revealing his experience and observation, which we hear from Prabhupada too. But it was really, it had a lot of gravity because he was right there on the front lines. And I was thinking that, yes, how could one actually have true integrity if they can't control their mind and senses, if they think they're the body, if they are engaging in sinful activities? They can't actually have true integrity because they're interested in ulterior motives, not simply for truth. So if something goes against their desire for sense enjoyment, then they can give up truth in a split second. They can give up their so-called pursuit of knowledge. And thus they mislead so many people. So this is happening in the scientific field. so much top scientists misleading people. And it's unfortunate because naturally, when we become educated with this knowledge from early age, we gain so much faith in it. We become so conditioned to think that this is reality, that this world came from just a bang, a big bang, and some explosion. So Srimad Bhagavatam is Bhadra Purnima today. So Srimad Bhagavatam is so important to propagate and spread because it is the highest truth, which is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. And it's coming directly from the Supreme Lord. It's the literary incarnation of Krishna. So when people get the Srimad Bhagavatam and they hear this knowledge and they read it, then they'll actually gain real knowledge which will benefit themselves, free them from their illusion of their dreaming of this material life. And so when the leaders, when the Brahmanas study Srimad Bhagavatam, become fully convinced of the Srimad Bhagavatam, have faith, they become great devotees of the Lord. And the Kshatriyas hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, and they're imparted this knowledge from Srimad Bhagavatam, then real progress of human society will take place. Okay, are there any comments or questions? Yes, Ananda?
Hare Krishna. I have two comments real quick. I was just thinking as you were giving the example of the scientist. When I was in college, I took a class on philosophy, a philosophy class. And I had asked my PhD professor, he saw that I was a serious student, I was like, how is it up there, those who have PhDs, are they really like interested in the truth and like really trying to understand the truth to life? Do they actually genuinely like seek for the truth and have debates on what is actually the truth? Is anyone actually interested? And he said, no, it's just a whole bunch of people partying and it's a social gathering. He says, no one's actually interested in the truth. He's totally dejected from his whole career. It's just a job. Yeah. But, even though he was a really good professor, still at the end of the day, no one is really genuinely interested in the truth. That's what he was experiencing. Most people come together and it's just like a social gathering among people. They're just interested in lower things, not really seeking the truth. So it kind of left an impact on me because I was actually interested in the truth. And I was inspired by the class to start thinking again about these higher topics, which I kind of neglected for some time. But at the same time, it made me realize that it's very rare to find a true seeker. Most people just want to seek for the sake of some adoration, distinction, or just say, I'm a seeker of the truth. Just like Prabhupada chastised these scientists and philosophers. Okay, you're seeking, here's the truth. Why? Okay, if I give you the truth, this is what you're seeking for. Why don't you accept? You tell them, why don't you accept? Because they're not actually interested in the truth. That's what it boils down to. So, and the second point I was thinking is, how Prabhupada is saying that most poor students are daily victims of cinemas which attract men only for sex indulgence. And that's really the sad truth. As growing up as a man in Kali Yuga, most men around me, at least, maybe it was just my social surrounding, were just interested in, in sex enjoyment and enjoying, like, the goal of life is if you can pass semen, and that's really as far as their intelligence goes. It's like, if I can just enjoy a beautiful woman or enjoy my senses and eat nice things, then wow, I'm considered successful. And if you can't enjoy and pass semen as much as I can, you're a loser, And I remember being pressured into these thoughts and these concepts, even from the time I was like 7 or 8 years old. And I was like, this is crazy. This is a madhouse that we live in. But anyways, it just reminded me how, because Papa was making the point, There was but one victim like Al-Jamil in those days. But here we have so many people. It's like practically my whole social, anyone I knew was more or less their goal is bodily sense gratification. And this is what we call a man. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Is there anything else? Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.